Chapter 9 from the Book of Fairy Tales. The Sleeping Dragon. Hades had his hands full looking after Maleficent while the Odd Sisters were away, so he was pleased when they finally made their way back to him from the Deadwoods. He had been spending more time in the Forbidden Mountain and decided to do some decorating to bide his time while he waited for their return. He created a lower dungeon beneath the throne room by way of a narrow set of stairs that led down to a cavernous room with a monstrously large fireplace with a blazing fire. The fireplace was flanked by two enormous dragon statues, and before it was the sleeping Maleficent in her dragon form. Hades had put her under a sleeping enchantment so she could rest and recover after her ordeal. Since Maleficent's arrival, Hades' crow and raven spirits often flew down to the dungeon to check on her. They felt protective of her now, since it was them Hades had sent out in search of her. On one of their searches, they had found Opal, Maleficent's crow, and brought her back to the Forbidden Mountain so she could tell Hades her story. Yes, sweetie! Okay. The moment she told him where he could find Maleficent, he magically transported the dragon into his dungeon, and that is where she would stay until she had time to become herself again. Time to let go of enough of her heartbreak, terror, and rage. When the Odd Sisters finally arrived, Hades was sitting in his throne room, petting Opal, who was perched on the armrest. It was the Odd Sisters' first visit to his castle, and he was happy to be in the company of his witches once more. Welcome to the Forbidden Mountain, witches. I thought you would never return. How do you like my new digs? Asked Hades, smiling at the Odd Sisters. Digs? Have you been digging? Why not just use your magic? Asked Lucinda, making Hades laugh. I'm so happy you dingbats are back. So did you find the spells we need? He asked, letting Opal hop onto his shoulder. We're happy to see you too, but we promised Gothel we would return to the Deadwood soon and try to help her with her sisters Primrose and Hazel. They are dangerously ill and fading fast, said Lucinda. The Odd Sisters seemed more focused to Hades, much more than they had been before they went to the Deadwoods. He had hoped giving them a purpose would help, and it seemed it had. We're so disappointed we couldn't find anything in their spell books to help poor Primrose and Hazel, or to bring Circe back, said Martha. If I didn't know better, I would say you're fond of these witches. You should go back as soon as possible. I am sure the answers are there. To both that and how to split my string, said Hades. Oh, we found the spell for the string, said Lucinda, giving Hades a devilish grin. Way to bury the lead, he said, startling Opal with his bombastic voice. So tell me, what did you learn? We found an interesting spell, one that can split a witch into three, and we think, with some modifications, we can use it to create two of you. Hades wondered if the Odd Sisters understood the implications of the spell they had just described, but they just kept chatting away, and he decided they hadn't made the connection. His witches were smart. They tended to be singularly focused when they put their minds to something. And yet, they would often completely succumb to being distracted from their purpose. Tell us, did you find Maleficent? Is she safe? Asked Martha. Oh, I found her, he said. Is she okay? Where was she? Asked Ruby. She was on the verge of attacking Morningstar Kingdom. Opal here found me in time to save her, but I put Maleficent under a sleeping spell before she could do any more damage. She's resting safely. We should visit her. Don't get distracted from your purpose, my witches. Let the dark fairy rest and recover for now. She is full of grief over what she did in the fairylands, he said. The fairy godmother deserved what she got. I agree. But let's get back to the spell to split my fate string. How long do you think it will take to perfect it? Not long. By the next full moon. Then the time will be right, said Lucinda, who seemed to have a gleam in her eye. So only a few days from now. And you can have it ready by then? Good. I have plans of my own, and there needs to be two of me to achieve them, he said. Just then, Florence came into the chamber. She had been stopping by to check on the dark fairy since she learned she was sleeping in the lower chamber. Florence, welcome back. I hope you're well. The tortoise-shell cat walked into the throne room as if she were the queen of the place, making Hades chuckle, considering who she really was. I'm well aware, Hades, and I see my witches are in better spirits. I came to see if all was well with them, and to check on the dark fairy. Where is she? Where she's been every time you visit her, in the lower dungeon, keeping warm by the fire. She is still sleeping, said Hades, loving that he knew a secret about Florence that the Odd Sisters did not know. May I go down and check on her? I won't disturb her, she said, narrowing her eyes at him, no doubt hearing his thoughts and reminding him with her reproachful looks to keep his mouth shut. Of course, you are, as always, my most honored guest, here or anywhere I may reside, he said with a sly wink. Remember, it's the narrow stairway on the left. Please don't go lurking down the wrong passageways. You might find yourself among the dead. Thank you for the warning. Florence stretched before taking her leave and heading down to the lower dungeon to see the sleeping dragon. Hades saw the looks of bewilderment on the Odd Sisters' faces, but he knew it wasn't about Florence. There are two portals down there, one to my realm and one to a chamber below the Deadwoods. I know. I should have told you about the one to the Deadwoods, but I wanted you to become friends with the witches there. I didn't want you just skulking in and out like the sneaky little witches you are, finding what you came for and rushing home. You need friends. Witch friends. And who better than the witches of the Deadwoods? Someone to think of as a family. Something had happened that he didn't expect. He was allowing himself to admit he cared about these witches. He had been telling himself he was simply sending the Odd Sisters to the Deadwoods to get the spell he needed. And while that was true, he also wanted them to discover who they really were without all the chaos, blood, and destruction the fates had foretold. And before you could truly take it in that he was actually fond of these batty witches, the Odd Sisters surrounded him, hugging him and giving him kisses on his cheeks, with tears in their eyes. What is it? What did I say? Get off me! His cheeks were now covered in red lip prints. You like us, they said, grinning at him wildly. Oh, stop it, he said, trying to wipe the lip paint marks off his cheeks. You might not want to admit it, but you like us, they all said, laughing and jumping up and down like giddy schoolgirls. Oh, off with you. You have a lot of work to do. Spells to perfect. Now get out of here, you dingbats, he said, trying not to let on that their gesture touched him, or that they might have been right. As Hades watched the Odd Sisters skitter out of his chamber, he wondered what he had gotten himself into. Did he truly care for these witches? And would it prove to be a mistake letting them into his cold black heart? Only time would tell.